Good morning, class. For the first 5 minutes, work on your bell ringer. How about 3 minutes? we learned about America in the War of 1812, gaining success in the water. We also know they still lacked a strong army. What is an event that happened in the War of 1812 that proves this to be true? Emily.
I said naval success, and an army fleet defeated a British fleet not far from New York. The victory saved New York from being taken over. And then army struggle. A group from the British Army marched basically untouched into Washington, D.C. and set on fire several public buildings and also the White House.
Yes, very good. The Navy destroyed a ship of the British protecting New York, and then the Army, unfortunately, did not protect Washington, D.C. The White House got burned along with several other buildings. Now, we'll go over some slides for the next 15 minutes. Make sure you're all taking notes. Alright, Second War for American Independence. The War of 1812 was a small war involving 6,000 Americans killed or wounded. If the American conflict was global, unimportant, it had huge consequences for the United States. Other nations developed a new respect for America's fighting powers. Naval officers like Perry and McDonough were the most effective type of negotiators. In a diplomatic sense, if not in a military sense, the conflict could be called the Second War for American Independence. Sectionalism was dealt a black eye. The most conspicuous casualty of the war was the Federalist Party. War heroes emerged, Andrew Jackson and William Henry Harrison, both to later become president. The Indians were forced to make terms as they could. In both an economic and diplomatic sense, the War of 1812 bred great American independence. Canadian patriotism and nationalism received a powerful stimulus from the war. Many Canadians felt betrayed by the Treaty of Ghent. They were aggravated by the failure to secure an Indian buffer state or even mastery of the Great Lakes. In 1817, the Rush-Bagot argument between Britain and the United States severely limited naval armament on the lakes. Border fortifications came down, and the United States and Canada came to share the world's longest fortified boundary, 5,527 miles long. This is a picture of the White House in Washington, D.C. before it was burnt. Nascent nationalism. The most impressive byproduct of the War of 1812 was the heightened nationalism. The spirit of nation consequentness, or national oneness. American may not have fought the war as one nation, but it emerged as one nation. Washington Irving and James Fenimore Cooper attained international fame as the nation's first writer. A revised Bank of the United States was voted by Congress in 1816. A new national capital began to rise in Washington. The Army was expanded to 10,000 men. The Navy further covered itself with victory in 1815 when it beat the piratical plunderers of North America. The American system. Nationalism manifested itself in manufacturing. Patriotic Americans took pride in their factories. The British were seeking to crush Yankee factories in the marketplace. The Tariff of 1816. Congress passed the first tariff. It was primarily for protection, not revenue. Its rates were roughly 20 to 25% of the value of debitable imports. A high protective trend was started. Nationalism was further highlighted by a plan of Henry Clay for developing a profitable home market. The American system. A strong banking system provided easy and abundant credit. Revenue from the tariff of eastern manufacturing. A network of roads and canals, especially in Ohio, that would meet the outcry for better transportation. Federal funding was a major issue for Republican constitutional scruples. Congress voted in 1817 to distribute $1.5 million to the states for internal improvements. President Madison sternly vetoed this handout measure as unconstitutional. Individual states had to venture on their own for construction programs, including the Erie Canal, which was triumphantly completed in 1825. Jeffersonian Republicans choked on the idea of direct federal support for interstate internal improvements. New England particularly strongly opposed it because it would further drain away population and create competing states beyond the mountains. Anybody have the book out? If you do, turn to page 231 and tell me what this picture says.
Henry Clay by John Eagle.
Please excuse this interruption, but I need these students to come to the office at this time. Arthur Ralston, A.J. Williams, and Deacon Miller. Thank you. And Hannah Adams.
Henry Clay by John Eagle. This painting hangs in the corridors of the House of Representatives, where Clay worked as a glamorous, eloquent, and ambitious congressman for many years, best known for promoting his nationalistic American system of protective tariffs for Eastern manufacturers and federally financed canals and highways to benefit the West. Clay is surrounded here by symbols of flourishing agriculture and burgeoning industries in the new nation.
Thank you. That's Henry Clay. What about this one?
Nationalist sentiments swelled in the wake of the War of 1812 as Americans defined their country with very identity with reference to its anti-monarchical origins.
Thank you. The so-called era of good feelings. James Monroe.
Please excuse this interruption, but I need all 9th and 12th grade boys to report to the auditorium at this time. Thank you.
9th through 12th. Or is it 9th and 12th?
No.
Supposed to be 9th through 12th. Y'all can go, boys.
Don't be silly.
Y'all have fun.
No, no, thank you.
Well, I haven't signed those papers, you have to go. Y'all know the drill.
I would walk in there and I would hand them this paper and
Look,
say,
I'm blind. I
"No,
just took
sir."
off my glasses.
I'm just not going in there.
I sit about third or fourth row. I can't
"No
see
problem,
nothing.
well,
She's here, I'll take
For real?
her signature.
I don't have the paper.
Well, I'm not going to the band room, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think I have it.
Please.
Oh wait, do I need to stop this?
I just take naps and everything, so.
Alright, see y'all later. See y'all tomorrow.
You probably already have one.
I'm not. Never mind, I'll say something.
Alright.
Well,
Alright. So-called era of good feelings. James Monroe was nominated for the presidency in 1816. Last time a Federalist would run. Monroe had experience, level-headed executive. Emerging nationalism was cemented by a goodwill tour of Monroe in early 1817. He announced that an era of good feelings had been ushered in. Era of good feelings. Considerably tranquility and prosperity did exist in the early years of Monroe, but it was a troubled one. Acute issues of the tariff, the bank, internal improvements, and the sale of public lands were being hotly contested. Alright, sectionalism was crystallizing. Slavery was beginning to raise its hideous head. 233. Maddie, can you please read this for me?
Okay. Fairview Inn or 3 Mile.
All boys students need to report to the auditorium 9th through 12th grade. That would be 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
That's
Thank
getting
you.
annoying.
Alright,
I said, Fairview Inn or 3 Mile House on Old Frederick Road by Thomas Cope Runkle. This busy scene on Frederick Road leading westward from Baltimore was typically as pioneers flooded into newly secured west in the early 1900s.
thank you.
Yes.
The Panic of 1819 and the Curse of the Hard Times. 1819, a paralyzing economic panic descended. It brought deflation, depression, bankruptcy, bank failures, unemployment, soup kitchens, and overcrowded pest houses, debtors' prisons. Factors contributed to the catastrophe. Large issues was the overspeculation of frontier land. West, especially hard hit by the Bank of the United States, forced a speculative wildcat western banks to the wall and foreclosed mortgages on farms. Panic of 1819 hit the poorer classes hard. Hard times directed attention to the inhumanity of imprisoning debtors. Mounting agitation against imprisonment for debt bore fruit in remediable legislation in an increasing number of states. Growing pains of the West. The West. 9 frontier states joined the 13 original between 1791 and 1819 to keep the balance between North and South. They were admitted alternately free and slave. There was a continuation of the generation old westward movement, also because the land was cheap. Other causes of the growing West. Eager newcomers from abroad, acute economic distress during the embargo years, crushing of the Indians in the Northwest and South by General Harrison and Jackson, the building of highways improved the land routes to the Ohio Valley, Cumberland Road in 1811, the use of the first steamboat on western waters in 1811 heralded a new era of upstream navigation. The West was still weak in population and influence. Allies demanded cheap acreage. The Land Act of 1820 authorized the buyer to purchase 80 virgin acres at a minimum of $1.25 an acre in cash. The West demanded cheap transportation and slowly received it. Alright, that's good with the slides for now. For the remainder, well, not for the remainder of the class, for the next 10 minutes, turn to your chapter 12 section review, and y'all work on that for 10 minutes, and after that we'll take a quick quiz. So y'all start now. Got 5 minutes left. Got 3 minutes left. I'll cut that down to 2 minutes so we have time to do the quiz. Got 1 minute. Alright, that clear your desk. Y'all have 5 minutes to do this. There's only 3 questions, so it shouldn't take that long, but. minutes left. You got 2 minutes. You got a minute. Ten seconds. Don't forget that chapter 9 through 12 test is on Monday. We're on the class almost over, so you can talk quietly for your neighbor for 1 minute.